there's a couple of reasons you need to look at these 12 things. Number one is the old thing, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, that is the definition of insanity. So if you don't like where you are, you got to change something.
Yep.
Number two, there's a lot of stuff out there right now that you can't control, but there are some things you can control. And if you control and make the changes in the areas that you control the controllables, you're going to see a real positive response in the math, in your numbers, but also in your anxiety level going down. You know, it's an old thing that's been out there forever in the sense that, you know, like you go to an old sales school back in the 70s or in 80s that I would have gone to, okay? And they say, okay, 5% of the people set goals and 5% are inordinately more successful in their lives than the other 95%. Well, guess what? 5% of people do a budget. 95% don't. Well, and 5% are inordinately successful with their money. And so this is not something you go, oh, you know, it's just a Ramsey thing, or it's just my grandma said to do a budget, or it's kind of common sense to do a budget. But it actually is financial goal setting for the month, and it is what the people that win do. It's what winners do. Yes. If you want to win with money, and you don't really have a choice on this one. You've got to put it on paper on purpose before the month begins. Get your Every Dollar app out. Do that exact same thing where you're giving your money an assignment, because 95% of the public wanders around, has no idea where their money went, and they get to the end of the month and they have too much month left at the end of the money, and stress and anxiety, and they are victims of all the outside influences and problems that we have right now, more so than those who can. It gives you peace, and it is your choice. No one tells you what you have to put on the paper. You decide, and you are now in control. It's an old 90s word. You are empowered. The budget empowers you. It's overworked, overused word, but you know, we want to empower people. But that's what the budget does. It gives you power. You are empowered over this subject that is such a debilitating, shame-inducing subject. I think the way to get your mind around it is, the easiest way for me is this. When we first started helping people with their money, we were primarily working with people in extreme distress. They're almost in foreclosure. 5 house payments behind. They're 2 car payments behind. They have lost a job. You know, they've got extreme financial stress. Okay, how do you fix that budget? What do you do with that? Well, your budget becomes the on and off switch between needs and wants. And you have to take care of your needs first. Food, shelter, clothing, transportation, and utilities. We always call it keep the 4 walls of your house up, right? And if you take care of those needs and you go, okay, I'm warm, I'm fed, I have shelter, the car has gas in it, but it does have gas in it, right? And, you know, all of that, I can kind of relax because I'm not going to be homeless. I'm not going to be, then I can look at the wants and go, well, this is a Monopoly game and it's not going so well on the wants. I got to cut some stuff out. So, but if you try to just pile in there, you know, food as opposed to Netflix, one's a necessity and one's a want, you know, and then you go, your brain just starts to explode with anxiety, with stress, and you start to be overwhelmed, and then you start screaming at the TV and at the politicians to get this fixed because you're now a victim of the thing. But when you take control of the necessities, it allows your body, as Dr. John Deloney would say, to relax.
Yep, absolutely.
And your shoulders to drop, and then the rest of it is like, well, this sucks, but I can still work it through.
Yep. That's what's hard.
Well, they either couldn't keep them or had no intention of keeping them from the start, depending on your political view and your view of the, you know, the people in office. And so, you know, why are you being played by this subject? Why are you being, you know, for what, 4 years we've been talking about this, and now it has come down to it is an unkept political promise at this stage. Well, I understand. It's still in the air. Everybody's still talking about it, but that's all they're doing is talking. And again, back to our earlier thing, how do you fix your life? You fix your life. You don't wait on someone else to fix it. It's the best formula. Oh, and by the way, you signed paper that said you were going to pay it back. There's that too. If you want to follow your broke financial friends' financial advice, you're going to be just like your broke financial friends. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's look at who you're listening to and try to find some data points that are actual facts, not mathematical theory that you discussed while having one too many glasses of wine with someone. You know, it's economic theory, but try to find someone who actually used that theory and became wealthy. You just can't find it. And we've got piles of data of 30 years and millions of people that have figured out that when you don't have any payments, you have control of your most powerful wealth-building tool. You are much more likely and it's much easier to build wealth when you stay out of giving everybody else your money. And it's, for an old guy like me, an old boomer, it's kind of humorous that people act like this is something new. You know, your mom and I were moving, as you know, we sold our house and we're cleaning out a whole bunch of junk. And I found the newspaper from the early 1970s when Richard Nixon resigned.
Oh, wow. Look at you keeping archives.
Yeah, who knew?
Oh, my gosh.
But what was very interesting was not the article on that, but was flipping through. And these ancient ads for cars, ancient ads for, clothing at Astronauts, which is a store that's been gone for 1,000 years, right? This kind of thing. And it's the exact same verbiage. Easy payments, quick, easy payments. Just come down. We'll take care of you. No down payment. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You're like, Klarna is not new. It's just got a weird name. It's just not new. And 78%
and online
who use Afterpay missed a payment. And it's everywhere, you guys. And it's kind of it's absurd, really, when you look at it. If you kind of back up from it, you go, this is just very childish. I mean, like, I bought a little T-shirt with a funny saying about golf on it. It was $9. And it pops up. Do you want 4 payments on a $9 shirt? Oh, my gosh. You probably don't need to buy a golf shirt. Oh, my gosh. It's not any payments on $9. 4 easy payments. Oh, God. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And that just tells you the absurdity of how far these companies have gone and how far they've lost their money. Again, if you pan back and get out of the daily rhythm that has become our lives,
100%,
and you look at stuff like Klarna, or you look at the way we purchase things now, it is kind of bizarre in the scope of history. I mean, I remember that movie that was out when you were a little kid, the Aladdin movie. Robin Williams was the genie, right? The genie would give you 3 wishes. You rub the lamp, right? And now you walk around with a genie in your hand who just gives you every wish. And it's unlimited wishes, by the way. Unlimited stupidity. You can just go on for days and buy things. And it's like it's like we've given children a magic wand and no judgment with it. And so don't be a child with a magic wand. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, things are more expensive, and I want to keep spending at a level that is not sustainable is not an emergency. Buying things that you want to buy and just yelling at inflation and going, it's inflation's fault. No, it's your fault. You have to stay within your budget, and it's not an emergency. Now, your heating and air going out is an emergency. Your tire going flat could be it could be an emergency, but things are now tight, so I'm using my savings to not adjust my behaviors to reflect an inflationary economy is not an emergency. That's a choice, and it's a bad one. So stay out of your emergency fund unless it's an emergency. I haven't stopped my investment. Don't stop your investing. The only one that gets hurt on a roller coaster is the one that jumps off in the middle of the ride. And I'm 62, so I'm that retirement age type of a thing. I'm not going to retire, but you see the point. I mean, I'm in that same age bracket, and even I haven't stopped investing. In other words, I don't have as long a window to invest that money as like you would.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And so, but even in that situation, I'm still investing because it's on sale, y'all. Rachel's exactly right. The point is, though, whether it's on Instagram or not, the point is that real estate, we've seen some price adjustments because some of them were overpriced because some of the sellers' asking prices were kind of still had the mentality of a white hot, crazy post-COVID market. And that's no longer here. We've got a very calm, almost sedate market right now. It's really kind of everybody's like, if they buy a house, they're kind of sneaking around to do it, kind of a thing. And so it's slowed down. The volume has slowed down. And so you're still going to see these prices maintain. You're not going to see them go down. And the supply-demand curve is there. So we're not going to see this. You're not going to see it go away. The prices have come down. Values have not come down. And so in some markets, it's just sitting there steady. And it's just not cray-cray like 83 offers in one weekend thing.
Right.
All of that stuff's gone. Thank goodness it needed to go away. But this is a great time to sell a house. And it's a great time because there's a lot of buyers. There's more buyers than there is houses. It's a great time to buy a house, and it's a great time to sell a house. We did that real estate reality check that you and I and we did, and millions of people watched that thing on the stream, and the data that we have in there and our predictions have proven months and months later to have been completely accurate.
What it is.
We get a lot of pushback on a lot of things because the culture's lost its mind. But the truth is this: your treasure's where your heart is. It says in the Bible. So where you spend your money says what's important to you. And when you combine your spending and you combine your investing and you combine your financial decision making, you are agreeing on, and it requires a lot of communication and a little bit of friction and a little bit of give and take, but we're agreeing on our values. We're agreeing on our fears. We're agreeing on our dreams. And when you just have your little thing, he has his little thing, or she, back and forth, then you don't have combined dreams. And then look up later and you're divorced and you wonder why. Well, you didn't have combined dreams. You didn't have we weren't going to the same place. You can't, it's much more efficient to get to the same place if you're both in agreement on what the same place is.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple stuff.
Absolutely.
But it's the way that this thing works. And again, it's data-based. Meaning that of the 10,167 millionaires that we interviewed, a high percentage of them, 79%, said they work very, very closely with their spouse. Not, I became wealthy in spite of my spouse.
Yeah.
Or without my spouse's knowledge. And I just went over here and did it over here to the side, and they did their thing. We never hear that from millionaires. I mean, never. It never comes up. The number of people that stand on the stage upstairs here at Ramsey Solutions and do their debt-free scream right outside the Ramsey Show studios, and they say, I brought my spouse with me to scream, but I really did it all by myself. It's precisely zero. Yeah. That just does not happen. I think the thing to think about is, what is money good for? And that'll give you your why. Because money, just to have money, is useless. It's just a tool, though. It's a tool that God gave you. You're supposed to manage it for Him and for your family. Okay, so now what are we going to do with this tool, this thing that allows me to lift, this thing that allows me to move things? What's the tool for? And then that'll start to give you your why. And you go, gosh, if I had a big pile of money, what would be the benefit of that? Well, I would have margin. I would have choices. I could help others and be generous. I could change my family tree. My kids wouldn't have to worry about going to college or anything. I mean, my relationships, I'd be a lot less stress. And so money, it's what money does that matters. The money itself is not important.
Right.
The weight of all the bizarre things that have happened in the last 24 to 36 months, politically, racially, pandemics, quarantines, inflation, the weight of all of that is soul-eating. It's discouraging for anyone. And it is interesting to me, having sat in this seat for 30 years, that you can simultaneously acknowledge that there's a reality to that weight, there's a reality to the anxiety and the stress and the mental wellness effect of all of that, and simultaneously say, and yet there's a reality that says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. It'll kill you. But when desire comes, it is the tree of life. And so, hope comes from believing that this is not all this stuff that's out there, and that the weight of all this stuff. And, you may have to change your inputs. You may be watching too much TV. You may be doom scrolling too many horrible negative websites about whatever the subject is that you're obsessed with, that's causing, that you can't do anything about. But if you sit down and say, you know what, as for me and my house, we're going to live. We're going to live. And we're not only going to live, we're going to live in abundance. And in spite of all of these things that are there, and in spite of this weight I feel in my soul, I also have simultaneously, and it's not unintelligent, this positive thing, this abundant mentality, this idea that hope is there, that I can really get there, and you can. I promise you can. I've walked with people individually out of situations, and I've walked with America through all kinds of different crises over the 30 years I've been doing this. Everything from the towers falling after 9/11 to 2008 to other things, all kinds of things have come at us. This latest round of stuff is really heavy and dark and black, but you know what? You're going to be okay.